I'm going to show you how to grow the world's most expensive tomato. It starts with a garden bed like the one I just made my wife for Mother's Day. Hi, I'm Greg, and yes, I planted myself firmly onto the shit list of a million husbands and boyfriends with this glorious tomato Taj Mahal. But I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to teach you how to become a legend in your household. To start with, you're going to need some real estate. How much is up to you, but remember, no matter what you may have been told in private, size matters. I removed sod in a back corner of our yard in an area that gets a ton of sunlight. If it looks like I'm removing the sod way too easily, it's because it was only laid 2 months before. Your efforts may prove to be much more strenuous. The beds I made take up a footprint of about 15 feet by 12 feet. The main bed is a U-shape 2 feet wide on the sides and 3 feet wide on the bend. In the middle are 2 round beds 3 feet in diameter. The beds are 2 feet tall. The spacing between posts is roughly 3 feet everywhere except here where it's 4 feet and here where it's 2 feet. The posts are cut from pressure-treated 4x4s, and I made the slats from 6-foot cedar and treated pine fence pickets. I first cut the dog ears from the pickets, and then I cut most of them in half to make roughly 3-foot lengths. The rest I cut into either 4-foot or 2-foot lengths. I cut the 4x4s into 4-foot lengths for the outer posts and 2-foot lengths for the inner posts. Here's where it gets interesting. I cut channels on opposite sides of the 4x4s with a dado blade stack on my table saw. For the corner posts, I cut the channels in 2 adjacent sides. Besides making enough sawdust to choke a rhinoceros, this allowed me to build the beds by sliding the slats in between the posts. The channels are 1 inch deep by 1 3/8 inches wide. I cut some of the cedar boards in half lengthwise so I could stagger them with the pine boards on the outside. This prevents ugly gaps and leaky soil in case the boards shrink over time. I used repair anchors to keep the 4x4s in place and to strengthen the beds. For most people in most places, anchors shouldn't be needed. Screwing the slats to the posts should do. But we live in a hurricane and tornado prone area, so I anchored every 4x4 except the outside corners. The only place I used screws on the main bed was to reinforce the slats on those outside corner posts. Since I wanted to keep the anchors on the inside of the bed, there was no place to attach the anchors on the corners. Before building the circular beds, I rolled out some weed cloth to cover the inner area. I built the circular beds by cutting 2-foot sections of pickets and then lining them up on the ground. Then I ran galvanized pipe hanger straps down each side and screwed them into the slats. It's important to screw as close to the edges as possible and keep the boards and strapping tight, otherwise your round bed will have more gaps than I just can't finish that sentence without offending someone, so I'm gonna drop it right there. Just keep it tight and leave about 6 inches of strapping overhanging the end. I lifted up the strapped slats and formed my circle. Then I crawled inside and flopped around like a manatee in a bathtub while I screwed the bed together. This circular bed is more than strong enough, but to protect from leaky soil, tornadoes, and possible mutant alligator or Godzilla attacks, I screwed some more boards along the inner perimeter. This thing is built like a brick shithouse, and once it's filled with soil, it'll survive the apocalypse. I didn't film it, but before filling, I covered the inner surface with black weed cloth. At this point, I could have called this project complete, cracked open a beer, and thrown in the towel. But that wouldn't be epic, would it? Instead, I stained the slats with Cabot Heartwood deck stain. This is the stuff I used on my HVAC privacy screen, patio privacy screen, and pergola. Then I primed and painted the posts with exterior primer and Sherwin-Williams tricorn, their blackest black.
It's like, how much more black could this be? And the answer is none. None more black.
Instead of filling the beds entirely with bagged soil, I busted my 52-year-old butt like a rented red-headed mule and hauled sand from the pile on the opposite side of the yard and shoveled it into the bed. It was right around here that I thought to myself, I'm too old for this shit. This thought was quickly followed by, there has to be a better way. And there is. I found a company called Chore Warrior that makes a rechargeable electric wheelbarrow. Jeezum H. Crow. This product has saved my life and extended my usefulness as a manual laborer by decades. Chore Warrior was kind enough to give me a discount code to share with you guys. See the caption for details on that. After running out of sand, I switched to garden soil I found on sale for $2 a bag. I had 210 bags delivered, about 3.5 pallets, and as it turned out, almost a pallet more than I needed. But it was a great deal, so I'll put that extra soil to use somewhere else. While buying the soil, I got itchy fingers and also bought a bunch of vegetable plants on sale. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, cucumbers, squash, lemongrass, radishes, melons, strawberries, herbs, and flowers. I bought them and planted them all for the shrimp. She especially loves homegrown tomatoes, so I got her 2 favorites, German Queen and Beefsteak, plus a few more new varietals to experiment with. To give a more finished look, I installed a 4-inch wide cap around the inner edge and a 1 3/8 inch cap around the outer edge. At this point, I again could have said, good enough, and drank another beer. But was it really good enough for the magnificent shrimp? Absolutely not. I got 3 black trellises, cut them up, and nailed them in between the posts. Now this garden bed was getting there, but it needed more. I put flickering flame post caps on the 4x4s, hung some solar-powered string lights, and installed solar deck lights around the inner perimeter. When the sun set, I knew the garden was finally shrimp ready. To keep my babe's leafy babies watered, I installed a mini irrigation system run off a Melnor 4-way timer. This was a lot of effort and a lot of money for a garden bed, but there's only one magnificent shrimp, and we only have one life together, so it was worth every penny and every drop of sweat. And here it is, the world's most expensive tomato. But just think about how much cheaper the second one will be. See my IG channel for the cost breakdown video.